Your cat is not asking for much, but what they are asking for, most owners never give them, and it quietly breaks something in them over time. Did you know that cats who don't receive specific types of care from their owners show measurable changes in brain chemistry? The same stress markers found in animals living in genuinely unsafe environments? Mia had loved her cat Cleo for 7 years, fed her every day, kept her healthy, gave her a warm home, and still her vet pulled her aside one visit and said, "Cleo is stressed, and it's been going on a while." Research published in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science found that cats in enriched, emotionally responsive homes live on average 2 to 4 years, longer than cats in homes where their behavioral needs go unmet. Mia drove home from that vet visit with Cleo in the carrier and felt something she hadn't expected. Not guilt exactly, but grief for all the years she thought she was doing enough. The 6 acts of love in this video are not complicated. They're not expensive, and they don't require hours of your day. They just require you to understand what your cat actually needs from you. And the first act of love is one that almost every cat owner skips, usually by accident. Usually because nobody ever told them it mattered this much. The single most important act of love you can give your cat costs absolutely nothing, and it's not food. It's not toys. It's not even affection. It's something most people have never once thought to offer. Did you know that cats experience something behaviorists call learned helplessness when they have no control over their environment, and that most indoor cats live in a low-grade version of this state every single day? Jake had the most well-fed, well-groomed, vet-checked cat on his street, a massive orange tabby named Biscuit, and Biscuit spent 12 hours a day staring at the same wall doing absolutely nothing. Dr. Michael Delgado, a certified cat behavior consultant at UC Davis, found that the absence of choice is one of the leading hidden stressors in domestic cats. They need to feel agency over small decisions throughout their day to stay mentally healthy. Jake had built his whole life around taking care of Biscuit, and when he learned that Biscuit might actually be suffering quietly inside all that care, he sat on the floor next to him and just said, "I'm sorry, buddy." The first act of love is giving your cat control over small choices: where they sleep, when they approach you, which toy they engage with. And the simplest way to start is to stop initiating every single interaction. Sit in the same room as your cat. Don't reach for them. Don't call their name. Just be there and let them decide whether to come to you. And watch what happens to their posture when they do. Because when a cat chooses you instead of being chosen, something changes in the whole texture of your relationship, and Act 2 of love is built on exactly that shift. Most cat owners show love by touching their cats. But the science of how cats experience touch is so different from what we assume that most of us have accidentally been causing stress while thinking we were giving comfort. Did you know that cats have touch receptors distributed very differently across their body than humans, and that certain areas trigger a defensive nerve response so fast the cat can't consciously override it, even when they love you? Sophie had always considered herself a devoted cat mom to her 2 cats, Fig and Olive, until she read a study that described her favorite way of petting them: long strokes down the back, as one of the most commonly reported sources of feline overstimulation. Research from the University of Lincoln confirmed that cats preferred short, targeted petting around the face, specifically the cheeks, chin, and base of the ears, over extended full-body stroking, even when they initially leaned into the longer strokes. Sophie thought about how many times Fig had suddenly bitten her during what she thought was a loving petting session, and she realized she'd been misreading his tolerance as enjoyment for years. The second act of love is learning your cat's specific touch map: the places they genuinely love, the places they merely tolerate, and the invisible line between the two, and then respecting it every single time. Start your next petting session by touching only the base of your cat's ears for 10 seconds. Then stop and pull your hand back. If they push toward your hand again, that's a real yes, not just a tolerance. And once you understand where to touch them, the next act of love involves something even more primal, something that goes all the way back to the very first weeks of their life and never fully leaves them. There's a sound your cat has been waiting to hear from you. Not words, not their name, not baby talk. A specific vocal frequency that triggers a neurological response in them, tied directly to safety and maternal bonding. Did you know that mother cats use a distinct mid-range trill or chirp sound when approaching their kittens, and that cats continue to respond to this sound from trusted humans for their entire adult lives? Daniel had always talked to his cat Ghost in a normal voice, feeling a little self-conscious about the high-pitched baby voice his partner used, until Ghost started following his partner from room to room and barely acknowledged Daniel. Studies on cat-directed speech found that cats are significantly more likely to orient toward, approach, and engage with humans who use higher-pitched, rhythmically varied vocal patterns, essentially because it mimics the sound profile of their mother's contact calls. Daniel started talking to Ghost in a softer, slightly higher voice during feeding and play, and within 2 weeks, Ghost was sleeping on his side of the bed for the first time since they'd adopted her. The third act of love is using your voice intentionally, not performing for your cat, but genuinely softening and varying your tone when you speak to them. Because to your cat, how you sound is who you are. Try narrating something small to your cat today in a gentle, varied voice. Hey little one, look what I've got. And watch whether their ears rotate forward and their tail lifts, because that's your answer right there. But voice and touch are only 2 pieces of this, because the third dimension of love your cat is hoping for is something that most people literally never think of as love at all, even though cats think of almost nothing else. Play is not a fun bonus for your cat. It is a biological requirement as serious as food. And every single day your cat goes without real, dedicated play is a day their nervous system falls slightly further behind on something it needs. Did you know that cats who receive fewer than 15 minutes of intentional interactive play per day show elevated stress hormones, increased intercat aggression in multi-cat households, and significantly higher rates of destructive behavior? Rachel had tried toys. She had a whole basket of them, but her cat Mochi ignored every single one, and Rachel had quietly given up and concluded that Mochi was just not a playful cat. Feline behaviorist Jackson Galaxy has documented extensively that not a playful cat is almost always a cat who has never experienced prey sequence play, stalk, chase, pounce, catch, in a way that actually mirrors a real hunt. Rachel bought a simple feather wand and learned to move it like real prey, hiding it behind furniture, making it dart away rather than toward Mochi, letting Mochi win the catch every 30 seconds, and Mochi transformed in 3 days. The fourth act of love is becoming your cat's dedicated play partner at least once a day, not leaving toys on the floor and hoping for the best, but actually being present, moving the toy with intention, and letting your cat complete the hunt. Set a timer for 15 minutes tonight, pick up a wand toy, and commit to being fully present. No phone, no TV, and pay attention to how different your cat's energy feels at the end compared to the start. And what you'll notice after genuine play is something that reveals the fifth act of love, because what your cat needs immediately after a hunt changes everything about how the rest of their evening will feel. Most cat owners feed their cats on a fixed morning and evening schedule. And while that's responsible, it misses one of the most powerful tools you have for your cat's emotional well-being, something behaviorists call the hunt-eat-groom-sleep cycle. Did you know that cats in the wild naturally hunt, eat, groom, and sleep in a repeating cycle throughout the day, and that disrupting this sequence in domestic cats is one of the leading causes of nighttime restlessness and early morning waking behavior? Tom's cat Pepper had been waking him up at 4 a.m. for 2 years, sometimes sitting on his face, sometimes knocking things off the nightstand, and Tom had tried every solution except the one that was actually causing the problem. Animal behaviorist Dr. Pam Johnson-Bennett explains that cats who are fed without a preceding play session miss the neurological reset that the hunt provides, meaning their body clocks stay misaligned and they seek to complete the hunt cycle at whatever hour their biology demands. Tom started doing a 10-minute wand toy session every single night at 9 p.m., immediately followed by Pepper's last meal, and the 4 a.m. wake-ups stopped completely within 10 days. Tom told his wife he couldn't believe something that simple had fixed 2 years of broken sleep. And then he felt a little sad about the 2 years, but mostly he just felt grateful it was over. The 5th act of love is sequencing your cat's evening routine intentionally. Play, then eat. Then let them groom and settle, because that sequence is written into their nervous system, and honoring it is one of the most loving things you can do. If you're finding these insights useful, now is a great moment to subscribe and ring the notification bell. This channel releases deep dive cat behavior content every week, and what's coming up in this video might be the most important act of love of all. Because the 6th act of love is the one that most affects how long your cat lives, and it has nothing to do with food quality, vet visits, or exercise. It's something almost entirely invisible, and almost entirely in your hands. Your cat is aging right now, faster than you are, more silently than you can see, and the biggest act of love you will ever give them is learning to see the changes before they become crises. Did you know that cats are biologically wired to hide illness so effectively that the average cat owner doesn't notice something is wrong until the disease has been progressing for 3 to 6 months? Anna had an 11-year-old cat named Whisper who had been drinking more water than usual for months. Anna noticed it but told herself it was probably the dry food or the weather or just a phase. Increased thirst in cats is one of the 3 most reliable early indicators of kidney disease, hyperthyroidism, and diabetes, all of which are manageable if caught early and devastating if caught late. Whisper was diagnosed with early-stage hyperthyroidism, and Anna's vet told her that because she'd come in when she did, they had a real window to treat it effectively, and Anna cried in the car for 20 minutes from relief. The 6th act of love is becoming a careful, consistent observer of your cat, their weight, their thirst, their litter box habits, their sleep patterns, because you are the only early warning system they will ever have. Buy a small digital kitchen scale and weigh your cat the same day every month. A loss of even half a pound in a cat is significant, and catching that number dropping is often the earliest warning you will ever get. Now let's go back to the beginning and look at all 6 acts of love together, because separately each one matters, but together they create something that science has a very specific name for. When cats receive all 6 of these acts of love consistently over time, researchers observe what they call a secure attachment bond, the same classification used for the healthiest human parent-child relationships. Did you know that only about 65% of domestic cats form a secure attachment to their owner, meaning roughly 1 in 3 cats is living in the same house as the person they love most, but never quite feeling safe enough to rest? Every person in this video, Mia, Jake, Sophie, Daniel, Rachel, Tom, Anna, started out doing what they thought was enough, and every single one of them found that learning one more thing changed everything. The gap between a cat who is cared for and a cat who feels loved is not a gap of resources or time. It's a gap of understanding, and the cats on the wrong side of that gap feel it every single day. That's what makes this knowledge feel like a moral thing once you have it, because you can't unknow it, and your cat is sitting somewhere in your house right now, hoping that today might be a little different. Let's walk through each act one more time, not as a checklist, but as a portrait of what your cat's ideal day looks like when you're giving them everything they're hoping for. Act 1. They wake up and choose to come to you, because you've created a home where they always get to choose, and the choosing itself keeps their nervous system regulated and their trust in you intact. Did you know that cats who are regularly forced into interactions they didn't initiate show a measurably faster rise in cortisol than cats who have the same interactions but initiated them on their own terms? Emily used to scoop her cat Felix up for cuddles whenever she felt like it, and Felix would go rigid, then limp, then scramble away, and she always told herself he was just independent rather than asking why. The difference between a cat that tolerates being held and a cat that seeks out closeness is almost always the difference between an owner who initiates everything and an owner who waits and is chosen. Emily started waiting, just sitting on the couch, being warm and available, and within a month, Felix began climbing into her lap on his own, staying for 20 minutes at a stretch, something he had never once done before. Practice the art of being a safe presence your cat wants to move toward. Stillness, warmth, availability, no pressure, and let them come. Because when they do, it means something real. And once they choose you, Act 2 begins. The way you touch them either deepens the trust or slowly erodes it, depending on whether you've taken the time to learn their specific language. Your cat has a sensory map of their own body that is nothing like yours, and reading it correctly is the difference between a cat who seeks your touch and a cat who disappears the moment your hand reaches out. Did you know that the base of a cat's tail is rich in nerve endings that some cats find pleasurable and others find overwhelming? And the same cat can feel differently about the same spot, depending on their arousal level at that moment. Chris had always scratched his cat Hazel at the base of her tail because she'd arch her back into it, right up until the day she turned around and bit his hand hard enough to leave a mark. Behaviorists explain this as petting-induced overstimulation, a real neurological event where cumulative sensory input crosses a threshold and triggers a defensive response faster than the cat can consciously decide to give a warning. Chris felt angry for a split second and then immediately felt terrible because Hazel was shaking slightly after, clearly as surprised by her own reaction as he was, and he understood then that he'd pushed past something she couldn't control. Watch for the pre-bite signals your cat sends before they reach that threshold: tail flicking, skin rippling, ears rotating back, or a sudden stillness, and stop petting the moment you see any of them. Learning to read those signals isn't just about avoiding bites. It's about becoming the kind of person your cat never has to defend themselves against, which is an entirely different quality of relationship. Act 3, your voice, shapes the entire emotional atmosphere your cat lives in, and most people are speaking to their cats in a register that their cats literally cannot emotionally process as warmth. The tone of your voice is to your cat what your facial expression is to a human baby. It's the primary channel through which emotional safety is communicated, and a harsh or flat tone registers as a potential threat. Did you know that cats can distinguish their owner's voice from a stranger's voice with high accuracy, but they process it primarily through emotional tone, not content, meaning they feel every shift in your mood before you've said a single meaningful word. Jen worked from home and spent most of the day on stressful work calls, short, clipped, tense, and her cat Benji, who used to sleep in her office, had quietly relocated to the bedroom and stopped coming out during the day. Vocal stress signals in humans, faster rate, higher tension, shorter pauses, map almost directly onto the vocal patterns cats associate with agitation and threat in other cats, meaning your bad day literally sounds dangerous to them. Jen started doing 30 seconds of intentional soft talking to Benji before each work call. Not long, not performative, just a genuine shift, and within 2 weeks he was sleeping under her desk again. Build a habit of transitioning your voice when you enter the same space as your cat. A deliberate softening, a slower pace, a warmer pitch, because they will feel the shift before you finish the first sentence. And when your voice has created the emotional safety, Act 4, play, can become what it was always meant to be, which is not entertainment but communion. There is a moment in a real play session, usually about 4 or 5 minutes in, where a cat stops performing and starts actually hunting. And in that moment, their whole body language changes and something true passes between you. Did you know that during genuine predatory play, cats enter a neurological state called prey drive activation that releases dopamine, lowers cortisol, and triggers a sense of competence that behaviorists link directly to emotional resilience? Rosa had always done short 2-minute play sessions because her cat, Tito, lost interest quickly, and a behaviorist explained to her that Tito was losing interest because Rosa was moving the toy too fast, too randomly, with no prey logic. Real prey doesn't fly through the air at 60 miles an hour. it hides. It freezes, it tries to escape. And when you move a toy the way real prey moves, a cat's brain engages at a completely different depth. Rosa slowed everything down, hid the toy behind a chair leg, made it quiver slightly in place before darting away. And Tito stayed locked in for 14 minutes, something that had literally never happened in 4 years of trying. The quality of your play matters infinitely more than the quantity. 10 minutes of real, prey-logic play is worth more to your cat's well-being than an hour of waving a toy around while you watch TV. Act 5, the Hunt, Eat, Groom, Sleep sequence, is the invisible architecture of your cat's entire day. And slotting their feeding and your schedule into alignment with it is one of the most underrated gifts you can give them. Most of us feed our cats at times that are convenient for us, which makes complete sense, but slightly adjusting the timing to follow play completely changes the hormonal experience your cat has around eating. Did you know that a cat who eats immediately after a play session experiences a measurable drop in cortisol during the meal, meaning the food itself is more relaxing, the digestion is calmer, and the sleep that follows is deeper? Michael had a cat named Archie who always seemed vaguely anxious after eating, prowling the kitchen, meowing, unable to settle, and every solution he tried addressed the eating, but none addressed what came before it. When Michael added a 10-minute wand toy session before Archie's dinner every evening, the post-meal prowling stopped in less than a week, and Archie started sleeping through the night without disruption for the first time since kittenhood. Michael told a friend about it, and his friend looked at him like he just unlocked a cheat code, because it felt exactly like that, like a simple sequence that made everything else work the way it was supposed to. Restructure your cat's evening around the sequence that their biology was built for. Hunt, eat, groom, sleep. Even if it means adjusting your schedule by 30 minutes, because the return on that investment is enormous. And then, once the sequence is in place, once the play is real, and the food follows and the sleep comes easily, Act 6 begins. The long, quiet act of love that spans years and asks the most of you. Loving a cat for their whole life means being willing to see them clearly at every stage, the kitten wildness, the adult settledness, the senior slowing, and adjusting what you give them as who they are keeps changing. Did you know that cats enter a senior life stage around age 10, but that the behavioral and physical changes often begin as early as 7, meaning many owners are giving their middle-aged cat the care of a young adult and missing what's actually being asked for?